2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of PhinManiacs Live. I am your host, Louis Sung, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Chad Ronenbaum. So, let's go ahead and get right into it, Chad. We got plenty to talk about. The first regular season game has come and gone, and it is a victory for Miami, which I am very, 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 very happy about. And let's just say that it was probably one of the most bizarre games we will ever go through in Dolphins history at this point, and now it is currently in NFL history for being the longest game ever played. I think it was 7 hours and 9 minutes was the official number. I'm not sure about that, but the minutes is ultimately inconsequential. Over 7 hours is basically the main point here. But regardless of that, we won, and that's a good thing. And then at 8:30, we're going to be joined by former Dolphins, Rams, and Chargers tight end, and our good friend of the show, Randy McMichael. He's going to be talking about everything that he went through his mind watching that game, or as much of it as he was able to watch, because I know there was some snafus with Fox. And also, I'm going to ask him about the Mike Gesicki thing in the end zone, because while everybody's talking about Tannehill's bad throw, which admittedly it was a bad throw, that Randy was telling everybody on Twitter that Gesicki was getting bided around. So I want to hear what his thoughts are on what he thinks Gesicki should have done, and I think that's going to be an interesting discussion. But we're going to go right into our initial reactions of the game first, and Chad, I'm just going to let you go ahead and go, because I'm sure there's plenty to say.
Very encouraged, obviously, with the win, Louis. I don't know how much to take away from it, because devastating game for the Tennessee Titans. They arguably probably lost their 3 best players in that game to injury. And so by the end of the game, we absolutely were not facing a Tennessee Titans team at full power. So I don't take too much away from the game that we beat them, but just one of those unusual games with a lot of, 2 special teams touchdowns and the length of the game. And so it was very bizarre overall. Things I really liked, our speed is noticeable. I noticed in the offseason we acquired more speed to go with what we had, and we really do have an offense right now capable of creating mismatches, which we really haven't had, I don't think, in a while. And so you can see that the addition with Jakeem Grant into a second year, the addition of Albert Wilson, Kenny Stills, and Kenyon Drake, all them players on the field at the same time, becomes very, very difficult to stop for teams that don't have that caliber of athlete to keep up with them. And so the Titans, I noticed, were playing a little more off as the game progressed, because Ryan Tannehill can't throw the deep ball, right, Louis?
Biggest flaw of his game, right?
Right, but we were absolutely worth getting that up there, and that was changing the complexion of the game. And when he hit that one on Kenny Stills to put us up by 10, that was a big change in the game.
No, that should have been the kill, honestly, but yeah. We'll get into that.
So I like that. Our offensive line is finally decent. I'm not saying we have a dominating offensive line, but this is the first time in Ryan Tannehill's career that he's been playing behind at least a decent offensive line. That was noticeable in the game. We were able to move the football on the ground. Tannehill had better protection than you would normally expect him to have. So the team speed and our offensive line play are very encouraging to me. Minkah Fitzpatrick, anybody that's watching very much football, if you don't realize that he's very special, he is. I mean, obviously, I've been all over getting him since the draft. I thought he was one of the best players in the draft. And it's not just that he had a good game, Louis, and it's that this was his first ever NFL game. And if you ever watch interviews with Minkah Fitzpatrick where he's talking about football, his knowledge of the game is off the charts, and his work ethic is off the charts. And to have a rookie that can play slot corner or safety to fight off a pick and make a huge impact on a tackle on the goal line there against his first game. Just you have to think about Minkah Fitzpatrick in year 2 or year 3 when he really is comfortable with everything and knows the offenses he's playing against even better. And so I really just feel very confident saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl player in the league for a long time. And it was a very good draft pick by the Dolphins. On the negative side, as I mentioned when the season was starting, I'm concerned about our interior run defense and our linebacker run stopping capabilities. And the Titans did have a fair amount of success on the ground against us. And as I also had said, for us to be successful in games, our offense has got to get points on the board. And we did get into that situation because with our talent, with Robert Quinn and Cam Wake, Rashad Jones, Minkah Fitzpatrick, these players that are our top, caliber players are all really strong in the pass game. And so we want teams having to throw the football against our defense. What we don't want are teams being able to pound the football on the ground all game long and match up tight ends on our linebackers. And so I didn't see anything that didn't make me any less concerned in the game about that. And that's going to continue to be my concern through the year is, are we going to be able to stop power run and play action passes on mismatches to our linebackers?
You mind if I interject on that, honestly, Chad?
Yeah.
I would agree that the running game in and of itself is a concern, but if we're talking strictly power football, maybe it was just the fact that the Titans didn't have much of an offensive line to go on anymore because, like you said, they had lost Jack Conklin before the game even started. They lost a guard somewhere down the line, and so they had to get in a replacement there. And then after that, they lost Taylor Lewan. So, and we can argue the legality of that hit on Andre Branch all we want to, but it was ruled as no penalty, so that it is what it is. But Andre Branch wound up concussing Taylor Lewan, so he was out for the rest of that game. But as far as the actual power running game goes, because remember the Tennessee Titans have it was termed as a thunder and lightning duo, kind of like the way the Dolphins run it now with Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore. Gore is the thunder and Drake is the lightning. Well, their version of that is, of course, Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry. Now, the reason that I say the power running game specifically was not that big of a deal, it seemed because I'm looking at the box score now, and Derrick Henry carried the ball 10 times, got a total of only 26 yards out of it. So that's 2.6 yards a carry. The one who was actually dangerous and gashed us was Dion Lewis. I mean, 75 yards, 16 carries, average 4.7 yards a carry, and of course that touchdown that he made. So it seems to me that it's not the power football that beats us. It's the speedy, it's the versatile, the nimble type of players, because those are the players that you can't really tackle. So these are the Dolphins. I seem to think now that the Dolphins don't have a struggle with power football. I don't think it's power football that's the issue. I think where they have an issue is when they start going up against running backs that can make people miss just by being shifty, because we all know that the Dolphins struggle with making tackles a lot of the time. Even Minkah Fitzpatrick had one incident where he just kind of missed. Dion Lewis made Rashad Jones miss in the open field. So it's not. I don't think it's power football that's the issue. I think it's just running backs who make people miss just by being shifty and hard to catch, kind of like Kenyon Drake is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that based on the stat line. One of the things you got to consider with the Titans is that they are very weak in the passing game with their personnel right now. They have like Corey Davis, but that the Titans team is a run-first team that likes to use play action and pound the football. And we were facing a team that was designed to do that without their personnel. When you take away your top offensive lineman, it's pretty hard to pound the football. And when that leaves you with having to throw the ball and you don't really have a third or fourth wide receiver that's very threatening, that's not what the Titans don't want to do that. But by the end of that game, Delanie Walker was out of it, and that's a huge piece to the Titans' offense. Is when they pound the football, what they're needing you to do is keep your linebackers on the field instead of your extra D-backs, and then they want Delanie Walker and Dion Lewis matched up against your linebackers. And so that again, Lewis, why the key is to put points on the board, because when you put a team behind, like we had the Titans later in the game, that forces them to have to throw. Now, obviously, it's the dream scenario when you've got their starting quarterback out and their backup quarterback in with two backup offensive tackles and not a great wide receiving core overall, and their top tight end out. It becomes not a very good offense you're playing against at that point. And that's not really a diss to the Titan fans. That was just the reality. I mean, if we had taken our top three offensive playmakers out, I'm sure we would have been struggling as well. So that's what I take away from it. I don't know how good our run defense is going to be overall through this year. I'm concerned about our linebackers tackling at times, and I'm concerned about our defensive tackles' ability to control the line of scrimmage. And so that's going to be a theme, because just for however reason the schedule fell this year, when we're playing like the Jets next week, even though they threw up all those points, I don't see the Jets as a team that wants to come out and play us and just spread the field out and throw. They want to pound the football. Buffalo, obviously they look awful, and I think it's going to be a long year for Buffalo. But when we play, that's a team we got to play twice yet, along with the Jets twice. Those teams want to play power football and have a leader play close. They don't want to get in a scenario where their quarterbacks have to throw a lot. And we have a very, very good defense when it comes to teams that have to throw, because Cameron Wake and Robert Quinn may be the best two ends combined in the game, and we've got a lot of depth. We can rush the quarterback all game long very, very effectively. And so that's going to be a huge part of our strategy, is to get teams into that scenario where they got to throw a lot. And so whether or not we can get that or not, I don't know. That comes back to offense. But I just, if we have to win games by our offense going 3 and out a lot, and we have to stop the run, that could get troublesome for us. But that's just not how our team's built. So I guess that's part of the strategy of what we're doing.
I suppose so. And actually, you know what? As long as you're bringing up the Jets, and we are we are basically reflecting on the Titans game for the most part, but we will talk a little bit about the Jets too, just because that's the next opponent. And maybe I'll do another show with either in a PhinManiacs Extra, or we'll do another live show. Maybe, I don't know yet. But I watched some of that Jets game, and let me tell you something. When I saw that the score, when I looked at the television, it was like 48-17, and Matt Stafford was just beyond awful. I think he threw like a total of was it 4 or 5 interceptions that night? Seriously, he couldn't. It was like he could do no right that game. And not to harp on any Tannehill talk, because we want to try to avoid that for the most part. But anybody who was saying that Tannehill is not as good as Matthew Stafford, well, there is that. But in any case, I digress. I looked at the score. It said 48-17, I think it was, and I thought to myself, "Dang, Sam Darnold must have really lit it up against them." And then they show a picture. They show a little graphic on the bottom of the screen, and it shows exactly what Sam Darnold did all night long. And I came to the sudden realization that these guys are praising Darnold as the next Joe Montana or something. And Darnold threw a total of 21 passes, completing 16 of them. So he had a good completion percentage, but not even 200 yards. He threw an interception. He got sacked twice. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but still, I saw the score and thought he must have been incredible, but he only contributed 14 of those 48 points.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, it was a lot of poor play on the offensive side, probably actually both sides for Detroit. But Sam Darnold's a rookie quarterback. He has 1 game under his belt, and this was not a game. I mean, the Lions were out of that game pretty quickly, and so Sam Darnold was not in a position, again, where it'd be a lot different if you're down 10 points and the Jets have to throw the football. I don't think they're a team that wants to be in that kind of game. They don't want to have to play catch up and throw the football and score points quickly. And so I don't think the Jets are, in my opinion, after that game, I would reflect them as a powerhouse. And after the Dolphins game, you're looking at 2 of the bottom teams in the league probably right now in the Titans and the Detroit Lions. And not again to be throwing shade at the Titans fans. It's just they right now are without their 3 top offensive players, and that just makes them not a very good team with all the injuries they're having to deal with right now. So I don't feel like the Dolphins and the Jets are suddenly powerhouses in the NFL. They played 2 teams that just weren't very good at this point in the season.
And we actually have somebody in the chat. I'm hoping I say it right. I want to make sure I say it right. Do right by you. Is it Jaime or Jamie? I'm gonna assume Jamie Castillo until somebody corrects me. But Jamie Castillo says, "Do you think we have a problem with the Jets?" When I first saw the score, I thought to myself, we're going to struggle big time at MetLife, because for the even if it is Detroit Lions, it feels like that they shouldn't have been able to throw up 48 over 4. Did they finally score 50? Did they eclipse 50? I didn't watch the end of the game because they went to the Raiders and the Rams finally. But either way, 48 points they threw up on the Detroit Lions. And I know that the Lions have struggled in past seasons, but ever since Stafford even showed up, it hasn't been horrible. So it was still shocking to me to see them put up that many points. It was the same level of shock when Ryan Fitzpatrick threw up almost 50 points on the Saints. And it's so weird how these things turn out. It's like you expect these teams to perform in a certain way. You expect the Saints to win because they have Drew Brees, they have all these incredible weapons. They have, I think, Alvin Kamara. They have Michael Thomas as a wide receiver. They have terrific opportunities to make plays, and they, for the most part, didn't do as well as they expected. And Ryan Fitzpatrick doing his whole cycle thing again. He suddenly takes over as the starter after Winston gets suspended, and he's a superstar quarterback because that's how Ryan Fitzpatrick functions. And now here comes Sam Darnold and the Jets. And again, regardless of how Darnold performed as an individual, they came together and just put a beat down on the Detroit Lions. And now we're going to go into their home turf, and I think to myself, man, we're going to struggle. But upon further reflection, it feels like that maybe this is an overreaction, and people were telling me it's win one game, don't crown them the AFC East champs yet. And I'm not doing that. I'm not going to crown them anything. I think everything still has to go through New England regardless. But I don't know if we're going to have trouble per se, but I will say that everything the Dolphins did and were doing before the delays started, because again, those delays had a big impact on the game, whether you want to think so or not, because the Dolphins were starting to get into a rhythm. They were starting to get their act together, and then before they could even really start to take advantage of it, the first delay happened. Lightning, 2 hours, have to wait forever and ever, and the press box just gets boring. And then the next delay, we're cranky and we're tired and we're hungry at this point. We just want to go home. So, and I'm sure the players they watched the other games. They talked about strategies. They tried to keep themselves loose in the locker room, but it's all the same thing. That the whole rhythm of the game kind of just got like thrown off. So I imagine that we would have done a lot better if we had been able to just keep playing. But that being said, everything that the Dolphins did to succeed against Tennessee, they need to do it against the Jets, or I don't think they're going to win that game. The offensive line needs to continue to protect the quarterback as well as they did. They need to continue making those holes for Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore to run through. Frank Gore looked terrific, but you know what? He had some major holes to run through, so give credit to the offensive line for doing that. You said earlier, Chad, that this is the first time Tannehill's played behind a decent offensive line. I don't know if I can agree with that. I would say that this is the first time he's played behind a stable offensive line, because he had a decent offensive line in 2016, at least for a little bit, because there were a few games where he had Albert and Tunsil and Pouncey and Bushrod and James all in the same line, but they kept getting hurt. One day it was Albert who got nicked up with something, and then Tunsil gets a little beat up. Pouncey's hips go out again. James gets beat up, and Sam Young has to come in. So I don't think it's necessarily a decent line. It's more of a stable one, but that goes a long way in making sure that they're able to run the ball, making sure they're able to throw the ball, and obviously whenever you can get the ball moving on offense, that helps the defense too, because they're not tired, they're fresh, they're ready to go. And speaking of which, the defense, Devon Godshaw, Vincent Taylor belongs in the starting lineup if you ask me. He's probably the best defensive tackle they have right now, even though they're giving it to Godshaw. And Godshaw's good, don't get me wrong, because he's really good too. I think we got some hidden gems in Godshaw and Taylor. But they need to continue doing what they were doing before the delays happened. And honestly, I wish I could have seen what would have happened if those delays had never happened, because they were getting into a rhythm. They need to do that at MetLife. And hopefully Igor and the rest of those Dolphins NYC guys can lead the MetLife takeover to the point where the Dolphins feel like they're supported.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the Jets, as they have been since he's been there. Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coach. He always has been, and they've invested a lot of their draft resources in acquiring defensive talent. So we're absolutely going to be playing a defense that's better than what we were facing against the Titans. Offensively, you can be all excited. That's good for Sam Darnold, but again, he's a rookie quarterback. He wasn't playing under any kind of pressure or that much duress, and so this game against the Jets, it's going to be, again, about our offense. If the Jets are going to want to run the football, use tight ends, and be more conservative to protect Sam Darnold. I don't think the Jets want to go out there and put this on Sam Darnold's shoulder and make him have to throw for 28, 35 points to win this game. That's not what the Jets want to do. And we need to be able to effectively move the ball. So that's going to be the big question: is can Adam Gase get the matchups on a Jets defense that's more talented than the Titans defense and get that ball down the field still? That will determine the outcome of this game. If we're doing a lot of 3 and outs throughout this game, our defense will start to wear down a little bit, and then we'll be in trouble in terms of their run game. And it's going to be a loud away game. Now the Jets got to be excited as a fan base. They're 1-0. They've got a brand new rookie quarterback, and this is their first home opener. So it's going to be a loud game, I would imagine, at MetLife. It's just something that it's going to be loud, and we'll be there. But we've got a veteran team. Ryan Tannehill's no rookie, and we've got receivers that aren't rookies. We've got Frank Gore in there. Kenyon Drake's not a rookie, and so we've got a lot of players that hopefully will be able to step up and handle the away environment and this game. It should be a pretty good game to watch. I don't feel like we're going to go in and just annihilate the Jets or vice versa, but I do feel pretty confident if we can be up by 10 points by the third quarter, the game will be shift much more to our favor. I don't think Sam Darnold's ready against the caliber of defense he'll be facing in Miami against the pass. I mean, if you have Cam Wake and Robert Quinn being able to tee off the edges and really go after Sam Darnold, and having him trying to throw that ball up with Bobby McCain and Minka Fitzpatrick and Rashad Jones and those guys back there, that's a good matchup for us in the game. Similarly, if we let the Jets have a lead into that later part of the game, they're going to really be able to effectively take advantage of our linebackers in the pass game because we'll be having to keep them guys in there to defend the run. So I think that'll be the story of the game, one direction or the other. I don't believe the Jets are a powerhouse team. I just don't think they have the offense to be a powerhouse team. But this isn't a 5-11, 4-12 Jets team we're going up against. They're right in that same range of where we're at, and it's a very important AFC East matchup. So one other thing that's going to tip to our favor a little bit is it is the second game of the season, and they're coming off a short week now, especially for Sam Darnold. So they're just today probably, I don't know what they were doing in terms of a team today, but they're just getting ready to prepare now for the Dolphins. So the Dolphins had an extra day or so to get work in and get rest in for this game, which is a big deal in the NFL.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I understand that this is a short week. I don't know how much one day is going to matter to them. Maybe it matters a little bit just because they're going to be slightly more tired, but they do have the home field advantage, and that's going to be a thing. Savan Triplet in the chat says that he thinks that Darnold has a very good chance to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he looks solid already. Well, okay, I'll say this about that. There have been a lot of quarterbacks who start out looking solid, and then they fall to pieces later down the line. There have been a lot of quarterbacks who look pretty darn crappy in their first year, and then they wake up and they kind of suddenly become superstars. Let's take a look at Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Their first year was less than spectacular, and now they're being viewed as potential MVP candidates. So there is that. And I don't want to make judgments too soon about those sorts of things, because remember, like I said last night, they put up 48 points last I checked on the Lions, and only 14 of those points came because of a touchdown pass from Darnold, which means that most of those points came from either the running game or the defense or something along those lines. It wasn't so much Darnold just being an incredible player. That was a ridiculously powerful team performance on the entirety of the Jets. And of course, there was probably some Lions breakdown there that went with it. So I don't want to just say that they're an incredible team now. Let's see. Radiohead 68. Okay, this is another topic we're gonna have to talk about. Is not much pressure from DE. McDonald is horrible. Harris is a wasted pick. I wanted Watt. I assume you're talking about TJ Watt. I believe he's a safety. So let me just check that real quick. Is he a safety? Yes, no, he's an outside linebacker. Okay, so TJ Watt, I wouldn't have minded having a linebacker either, but let me put it to you this way. Let's see. I don't think that Charles Harris may or may not be a wasted pick. I don't know that yet, because think about it this way. Who do you want him to play over right now? Who would you prefer he would play over? The only one who's even viable in this instance is Andre Branch. And yes, that is something of a concern. Andre Branch actually played more snaps than Charles Harris did. And I guess you could say that some draft picks come along slower than others. I mean, hey, look at Ryan Tannehill. We drafted him in 2012, and we're still slowly but surely developing him into a quarterback who is viable. See, the problem with Tannehill is that it's the development is so slow that you can barely tell it's happening. But as you watch over the course of the years, you can tell that it's happening, that he's getting smarter, he's getting better. But it doesn't show up in results because by the time that development has stopped, everything else has kind of fallen apart. So what we're looking for here is a microwave solution to a slow cooker problem. I don't know if Charles Harris is going to waste a pick or not. I can't label him a bust yet because this is only his second year in the NFL, and his first year he didn't spend much time playing anyway. So I don't want to say that he's a bust or he's a wasted pick yet. TJ McDonald being horrible I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true at all. And I think that if you really want to see more from McDonald, you need to have him playing in the box. Rashad Jones and TJ McDonald in run support is a very, very dangerous factor in any football game. If they're up there in the box making plays, I think Rashad Jones made at least I'm not sure if it was Henry or if it was Lewis. I think it was Deion Lewis. He made a play in the backfield that made them lose 5 yards on a carry. That's just one example of many examples of Rashad Jones and TJ McDonald making plays back there. So I'm definitely not going to say that they're garbage. Pressure from the defensive ends, yes, that I will agree on. And I was very upset over the whole lack of a pass rush that they demonstrated. For what it's worth, Robert Quinn did get close, but it was erased by a face mask penalty. And there was also some film shown that the Tennessee Titans spent a lot of time cut blocking. And the thing about cut blocking is that in the terms of player safety, that's something that you generally shouldn't be doing if you really care about player safety. Cut blocking is a very dangerous aspect for the pass rushers, and not only that, they were also giving them extra tight end support. They were making sure that Mariota / Blaine Gabbert had some extra room to move, some extra time by giving them that help. Now, I did notice one other thing. When Gabbert came into the game, the pass rush seemed to improve a little bit because we all know that Gabbert's not going to go anywhere. He's not a runner. Marcus Mariota is a mobile quarterback with legs, and he can run, and he's got the speed to use it. So when you have that, you can't just go all out like you would trying to chase down a Tom Brady or somebody along those lines. I would even say that Darnold is probably a better option to chase down than Mariota. Mariota can take off and run anytime he wants, and that does have an effect on how the defense rushes the passer. Like, you can't send a blitz. If you send a blitz on somebody like Marcus Mariota, you're going to wind up making it so that you're trying to get there faster so you can get a sack on him, but that just leaves more people open for Mariota. So you have yourself an issue there. I don't know if the pressure is going to be a problem moving forward, but hopefully it won't be.
I don't have any concern on pressure, Lewis. And if you're going just off statistical sacks, we don't have a lot of sacks, but the Titans threw 3 interceptions, and so you get that. That's pretty good for pressure.
Yeah. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the show, and we're going to go ahead and welcome our special guest for the evening, former Dolphins, Rams, and Chargers tight end and friend of the show, Randy McMichael. Randy, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Chad, can you talk to him?
Yeah, can you hear us, Randy?
Hello.
Randy, can you hear us? We have ourselves a problem here. Let me just get in here real quick and let him know that we heard him. Well, okay, so technical difficulties aren't completely done yet, folks, ladies and gentlemen. He'll call back in a minute, and hopefully that'll get everything up and running. Let's try this again. Hello, Randy.
Hey, what up, man?
Okay, we're getting there. Okay, so how you doing, my brother? It's been a long time.
I'm good. It's been a real long time, man. How you been?
I've been doing good, and you?
Oh, you know me, man. Just living the dream, baby.
Mm-hmm. What you been up to these days?
Oh, you know me, man. Laying low, working hard. That's about it, man.
All right, so it's good to have football back, though. I'll tell you what.
You better motherfucking believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what do you even do with yourself when you're not when you're not watching football? Like, football season is the best time of year, and then when it's gone, it's like, I don't know what to do with myself anymore.
Yeah, it sucks, but yeah, because I do that sports talk in Atlanta, I got to know all sports. So baseball, I love baseball. You know, Hawks suck ass, but so do my damn Heat. But then, you know, but the Braves are playing well, so then we got this soccer team here that, you know, so it's all right, man. But you know me, like I said before, I've been laying low, man. Me and the wife been trapping, chilling, and doing all that other good stuff, man.
I got you. Well, it's good to have you on with us again, Randy. Got plenty to talk about too.
No problem, buddy.
All right, so actually, I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way first because I know this is something that everybody's been talking about. Have you ever in your career ever seen anything like what the Dolphins went through on that first week? I mean, good Lord.
I mean, I remember playing in Miami. We had weather delays where we had to move games up. I remember playing Kansas City on a Friday night. Moving a game that was Saturday against Pittsburgh. Sunday morning, Sunday at 1:00 in Pittsburgh. Later on, I mean, I've been part of that, but just sitting around in a locker room for all that time, I've never in my life seen that like that. Like, I was getting tired. I kept flicking back, and it was like, oh, weather delay. I'm like, what is going on? But finally they got it done, and my Dolphins, I didn't have to say them damn Dolphins. I got to say, all right, Miami.
I know, isn't that nice? It was so nice to be able to come away with a win. But what even happens to the athletes when they're going through that sort of thing? Like, how hard is it to actually get back out there and come out with the same intensity anyway?
Well, I mean, you're restless. You are, and it gets to a point where you just want to go play. And I couldn't imagine being like in and out of a locker room that many times. Because eventually you come to the conclusion, well, maybe we're going to postpone and play another time or something like that. But it's really no way you just got to, that's what we call that willpower to go get the job done. Because there's no way you can re-prepare your body for it because you're cold and everything. I'm sure a lot of players went back and changed the uniform because they were all wet, get a fresh uniform, probably replay that game day mix and get yourself back hype and just go back out there and do the job.
Yeah, I got you, man. I asked a lot of the players about that afterwards, and they said they watched football. They tried to keep an eye on their strategy. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick said that he tried to take a nap, but that wasn't going to work because the adrenaline was pumping too hard.
No.
So it's like,
no. You can't sleep right there. You know what a nap does to you. It's going like you said, the adrenaline is going to drain all of it out of you. Now you got to stay awake. You watching football on the TV screen. You might look back through the playbook, but no, you got to stay awake, man.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It was hard. Believe me, it was hard. It was. I don't even want to say how hard it was on the media because who are we, the media, supposed to talk about when those players are down there in the locker room? But let me tell you, we were grumpy, we were tired, we were hungry, and I can only imagine that the players had it even worse. But I really hope that nothing like that ever happens again. Lightning in the air. I mean, strictly from a player safety standpoint, what exactly are the risks that a player gets struck by lightning? I think there are worse things to worry about.
Well, this is so funny because somebody said, I'm one of those guys that said, what the hell is lightning going to do until your ass gets struck by lightning? You know, that's the crazy thing about it, is that you're always like, oh, ain't nothing going to happen. Then something happens like that. I get you. People talk about it a lot, like, what is lightning? But you got to make sure that people are safe. And I mean, I think that's the most important thing when you're talking about these weather delays and all that stuff when it's lightning. And, you know, I mean, the state above us right now is bracing for a hurricane and everything up there in South North Carolina. I mean, you got to prepare for it and you got to take precautions because, like I said, it's one in I don't know how many thousands or millions it is by somebody getting struck by lightning, but you don't want to be that cause, that event when somebody does get struck by it.
All right, fair enough, I suppose. No, I do get you. I understand. It's just when you talk about it live, it's just like lightning. But yes, you do have a point, I suppose. But
it sucks.
Yeah.
I guess in my old age, I started thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, so go ahead, Chad. I know you have some questions too.
Hey, Randy, it's Chad. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, I got my co-host here, Randy.
Yeah, I'm just taking it in. I have 3 questions for you. Just for kind of them are a little bit fun, but I'll get the Dolphins one out of the way. Obviously, this was Mike Gesicki's first game, and we had the bad news this last week of losing Marquise Gray for the season, which I assume is going to elevate the pressure on Gesicki to be able to play more of a well-rounded game. And being a tight end, and obviously the thought process right now is Gesicki is still learning, the offense yet, but there's concern about his ability to block. And on that side of the game, in terms of the fan base that you're trying to get a feel for it, is that just over expectations to expect him to be able to be an effective blocker as a rookie? Is that something that may be more like a year or 2 or 3 thing before he really starts getting the improvement? Or how quickly can you expect an average rookie to really pick up the game?
I'll be honest with you, man. Blocking is a 1-2 type thing. And I'll go back to how I was taught playing football, down in country, rural South Georgia. And my coach, he's like, if you don't block, you don't play. And then when I got to Georgia, you don't block, you don't play. When I got to Miami, you don't block. I mean, it's a 1-2 type thing. And now you got these tight ends that are coming in that are called tight ends with a receiver. Mike Gesicki is a wide receiver that they're trying, a big wide receiver, a hell of an athlete. And I saw some things in the preseason where you're like, this young man is special. I mean, it was a preseason game. He ran a sluggo route. I was like, oh, my God, it was an unbelievable route, underthrow. But the thing with him is when Marquise went down, that was bad for him because it kind of thrusted him into that tight end one as far as you don't want to be predictable. When he's in the game, we're just going to pass the ball. He's got to be that guy when they're regular personnel to be able to run the ball when he's in a 3-point stance. And at Penn State, he was never in one of those. And it's something that, that you can continuously work on your technique. But overall, it's a 1-2 type thing. It really is. You can work on technique and all that in blocking. But if you don't want to do it, then it's not going to happen, no matter how much they teach you. And I was upset because I saw him lined up out wide against Malcolm Butler. And Malcolm Butler's played some big-time football. Super Bowl, everybody knows about the plays he's made. But you can't get jammed like that on the goal line when that ball is for you against a guy that's with 5 inches shorter than you. That just can't happen. I don't care about he's a rookie or nothing. You got to be able to go make that play because that's why Miami drafted you, and that's why they put you in that position to win on that route.
Well, I will say this in his defense, Randy. He has said in the past that he is more than willing to work on his blocking, and he wants to be a good blocker. So I would hope that that's enough. But can you is there a way to tell in body language or stuff like that if he's telling the truth?
Oh no, you can't tell. I mean, we're in an age right now where people will tell you what you want to hear.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that the kid isn't willing. I'm not saying that he's not willing because I'm sure he's willing to. And that's the one thing about it. You're willing to do it, but it's a difference between willing and want to do it. And I mean, you can put your face in like I said. If you're gonna whip me, you're gonna whip me trying. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna whip me because you're just gonna whip me. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna go at it toe to toe all day long, and that's the mentality he has to get in him. And it's an old school term, and people still use it. It's called that dog. You got that dog in you to go out there and battle and fight this man. Yeah, he might be bigger than you. Yeah, he might be stronger than you. He might be 10 years than you, a rookie. But are you going to sit there and just go at him all day and not allow him to just think that you're soft? And Gesicki's got to get that in him. And I'm not calling him soft. I'm just saying he has to get that mentality that, hey, he might whip me. I might miss his block. You know what? I'm going to keep going at this dude all day.
I can get
I think that's fair, though, because he did, and granted, Randy's right. When you're talking about Butler, you're talking about a guy that's played at Pro Bowl caliber levels and on the biggest stage. And so that is what he's going against as a rookie, but he did get jammed and he didn't really put in a big, if the ball's not thrown right, you still got to go fight for it, at least become the defender. And you can't give that up.
Yeah, but let's be clear, that ball was not thrown right. And I'm the biggest Tannehill supporter there is, but that was a bad throw.
Right, you still got to go fight. You got to fight for it.
And that's the thing I'm saying. See, we're making excuses for him. I don't want to make excuses for him. He has got to go up there and make that play because he wasn't open at all. Like Malcolm got his hands on him automatically. Now the throw wasn't perfect, but at the same time, you got to get open on that situation because when it's your number called, and I'm not going to say I got open every time my number was called, but I'm saying when it's your time, all right, because he was relatively quiet that whole game. When it's your time to make a play, and they brought you in there to split you out wide because they look at you as like a Jimmy Graham type receiver, we're going to throw it up to you and let you make plays against a single receiver side, you got to go make that play. And he's going to learn, and he's going to get better. But at the same time, hey, it's go time now. It's not preseason no more. It's go time.
Yeah, I mean, right now it'll be that. Everybody in the league pays attention to what they do, and I think teams right now are going to say, hey, we're just going to put a corner on him in the goal line until he proves otherwise, and so he's going to have to beat those jump balls and become that guy where the team's got to start game planning to stop that. Because right now it looks like, hey, if I just put a corner out there and jam this guy, we can throw that play off and not worry about it. So.
It's not even that. They're going to say that all we have to be physical with this guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, that's the game plan against Jimmy. It's like Jimmy Graham. Hey, just get physical with him. And you don't want to be that guy where everybody says, hey, let's just be physical with him and just beat him up. You know what I'm saying? Because Ryan's not Drew. Drew can put the ball anywhere you want him. Drew Brees can throw that ball and put it anywhere you want it. So can Russell Wilson. Ryan's not that guy to do it like that. But at the same time, if Ryan puts it up there, you got to make that play for him. And you don't want to get that rep like, oh, he's soft. And I'm not saying get soft because, like I said, I saw this guy play big-time college football at Penn State. I saw him catch balls and run and tumble and rolling and running over folks because I know it's in him. But this is a different level of ball right here, fella.
Yeah, definitely.
So what could he have done better on that play then, Randy? Because I know that he got jammed, but let's put you out there. What is it that you're going to do that he didn't?
Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to set him up. Because the first thing Mike did when he came off the line was he didn't even try and give him anything off the line. He just stepped and Malcolm is smart enough of a football player. And that's what I said. You got to know who you're going against in those situations. And that means that, you know what, Mike, you got to body him because you're bigger than him. All right. You got to box him out. You got to find a way to get him off the line because he was all up on him. So you give him a little flipper. Like I'm teaching my son out here in the backyard, a little flipper. You back him up off you, and you just body him, just like Graham, just like Gronk, just like all the big tight ends do. When they put that corner out on him, they bump him and they box him out, and then you give the quarterback that big body to throw to.
Yeah, along with that, Lewis, I would expect when that ball's up in the air, if he's out of position, I don't care if he literally tackles Malcolm Butler. You don't give that up because that's the point. You give up a penalty there, the Dolphins are still in field goal range. You're giving up a turnover on the play, and so if your job, if the ball's out of position, he cannot allow that to get picked off.
I agree 100%.
So he just got pushed to the ground. That's what it looked like to me. He falls on his face.
He got handled. That's what they. And I know, Lou, you saw my tweet. He just got handled, and that's what we like. And like I say, sometimes people in this league, it's the best in the world, and sometimes people are gonna get the best of you. All right, and I agree, and I understand that. But you can't get handled by a smaller man. You just can't. I mean, when you're counted on, especially now, like you said, he is counted on to be tight end one. All right, he has to be that guy. All right, and it's gonna be an up and down season for him as far as blocking. I get all that, but when they brought you here to catch passes. And when it's your number called on that situation, you got to make the play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Randy, I can appreciate your position on this because obviously you would be in his position. But can we? I still feel like I need to be at least a little bit fair to him because I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to throw Ryan under the bus, but it was a bad throw. He would have had to turn completely around and try to make that catch. If it had been in a slightly higher position, do you think he would have had a better shot at it?
I'll tell you this, Lou. Did you watch him play at Penn State?
I watched some film, and that's when he blocked me for saying he couldn't block.
Well, Lou, he's made that play before. All right, he's capable of making that play. All right, but the thing what happened with him was he got whipped off the line. So Ryan, it really wasn't a bad throw. There was no throw because he got whipped as soon as the play was stopped. As soon as the play started, he got whipped. See what I'm saying? Like it's a difference if you give him something and he pushes you down. No, you got whipped from the beginning. It was no chance of that play working from the beginning. But I'm sorry he blocked you. And I always think that blocking people is just it's lame. I mean, take your criticism and move on with it. Or not even criticism. Just take what somebody thinks somebody's opinion and move on with it, because ain't no 100% consensus. And if you want to block people because they don't agree with you, that's just lame.
Yeah, and I with that, Lewis, I don't think, this is his first game. He's a rookie, and welcome to the NFL. You're going against an elite corner, and you just you got schooled in a sense. But with that said, I guess my question for Randy, my concern is with him being a rookie and now with Marquise Gray out. Is that something that do you think he can, as a rookie, that's an expectation they can have on him, or maybe they should be working in somebody like A.J. Derby a little bit more? Just as a rookie, I'm just concerned that Mike Gesicki can jump into tight end one that quickly. I mean, that literally is his first game. And
I want to interject real quick, just for the record. A.J. Derby actually played way more snaps than Gesicki did that game.
Yeah. But this is. I'll tell you this, fellas, and people always. And this is how they get on me here in Atlanta on the radio. They say I'm gonna get off my lawn guy, and I'm not. I'm just an expectation guy. And I'm a guy who's like, you know what? I don't give a damn what you are. All right, you're on the football field. You're paid to produce. All right, and being a rookie and all that, when you're in the field, it doesn't matter. I started as a damn rookie in a different era where I'm a 242-pound tight end blocking 300-pound defensive end. You know why? Because that was my damn job. It wasn't that I'm a rookie. We got to get these young players out of that when he's a rookie. No, you go block him. That's your job. We're counting on you to do that. And that Miami, my Dolphins, are counting on you to do that. They're counting on you to be that number one guy. So you know what you need to do? You need to grow up and let them drop and go get it.
No, I got you. All right, so actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and switch. Let's go ahead and switch gears just a little bit. Not really getting off tight end talk, because that is still very much relevant, especially in this Dolphins offense that seems to have struggled mightily in the past many years trying to get that working. They haven't had a decent tight end game ever since Charles Clay was here, and they haven't had a really good tight end game since you were here. So I want to know. Why is it that it seems like every team in the league can get that tight end position going, but Miami still seems to be struggling mightily with this?
Well, the thing about Charles was that I think, and I still believe, Buffalo overpaid him. You can't match that Buffalo offense with Charles Clay. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, Buffalo overpaid for him, and you got to let him go. The Julius Thomas thing, I never thought that was going to work, because I always thought that Peyton Manning made him, and I always thought he was soft. I always say that, and I've always said that about Julius. I thought he was soft. I thought he was a guy that once you think it's hard, and you saw that in Jacksonville, his first catch, he catches in the preseason, he gets undercut, falls on his hand, breaks his hand or whatever, and he never bounces back, because I never thought he was tough enough to get it done. That was just my opinion. I mean, one of my favorite tight ends I love Anthony Fasano. I mean, I love watching him play because he's gritty and he just gets the job done, and I like guys like that. And I'm not saying Gesicki can't be that guy. You know, I can't. I mean, coming out of the draft, I like Mark Andrews a little bit more than Gesicki. I thought Mark was a little bit tougher as far as after the catch and all those things. But I'm not saying Gesicki can't be that guy. But right now, he's the type of guy where you got to get a blocking tight end in there for him to do that dirty work, because he's going to be thrust into that role. So they got to figure something out. Do they go an extra tackle on run plays when he's in? I mean, there's certain things that you got to do to try and protect this kid from having to do all that. And I saw the preseason, and I tweeted out, bless his heart, he's trying. And I'm not going to sit up here and say you don't see him putting effort and trying, but you got to get the job done sometimes. And right now, you know, I know when Marquise went down, that kind of thrust him into a different role that they probably didn't want him to have to go on with, you know, this early. But now, you know, it's here. It's a challenge, and you got to stand up to it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be challenging. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Dolphins tight ends coaches, because, you know, hopefully A.J. Derby can have a solid year, but behind him is Durham Smythe, and you have another rookie again. And so there's a lot of...
He's supposed to be the blocking guy, so...
Well, even so, he's still very young, and so losing Marquise Gray was tough, because that was the veteran leader at tight end that could do it all, block and catch. And so, those rookies are going to have to learn quicker than you might expect. Yeah, it's time. It's time to play.
Hey, man, this is a grown man game, man. And this is the thing about it. You're getting paid. This is your job. So, you got to go ahead and go. I mean, Miami is beautiful and everything. You can enjoy Miami in February, okay? Right now, it's all about business, and you got to get in that weight room. And I think that's the biggest thing that he has to do is he got to get in that weight room. He's got to get stronger. All right, he's got to get stronger. He's got to get more physical. And once again, I know he is a rookie, and I had my rookie challenge with my strength level. But like I said before, I had what you can't coach, what you can't drill. You got to have that dog in you, and he's got to find a way to get that in him right now because we're counting on him. We're counting on him to be that guy.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what?
Go ahead, Liz.
No, I was just gonna follow up on that because we talk about the dog thing, the it factor, so to speak. But lots of people say that that's not something you can develop. You either have it or you don't. Would you say that's more of a personality thing, or can something like that be found in somebody?
It's a personality thing, without a doubt. It is a personality thing. You know, it's something that you're born with. It's something that it's something that you walk around with. Now, can toughness be taught? I don't think toughness can be taught, but I think it can be brought out of a person. If you get tired of getting your butt kicked, and then eventually you'll stand up. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't, then that means you don't have it. You know, and I talk to my son about this all the time because he's a privileged rich kid. You know, he never had to have that dog, but now where he's playing football now and. You know, he's to a point where now he's like, Daddy, I'm tired of getting – I'm like, well, you know what? Stand up and be a man about it then. Like I said, you can't teach it, but it can be brought out of you when you get tired of getting knocked over and you get tired of doing all that. You know what I'm saying? Then it can come out you. And hopefully it comes out because I'm going to tell you what, he's going to get his butt kicked, okay, a lot. Because he's a tall, long kid. And when they put him in that three-point stance in the run game, he's going to get his butt kicked a lot.
Oh, joy.
And then when he sits there and decides, you know what, I'm tired of this, he's going to stand up. And will he still get beat? Yeah, but he won't get beat looking like, okay, I'm with y'all, so let me get the right word. He won't get whipped like a little man. He'll go, hey, that's a man right there. That dude, Gesicki, hey, I got him one time, but you know what? He came right back at me. And that's what those are my expectations for him.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And when you put that out there, as fans and media both, you hope it does motivate him. A couple of quotes I think from football guys was Bill Parcells always had a quote I liked where he said if they don't bite when they're puppies, they're probably never going to bite. Meaning, if you aren't in there, as Randy would call it, a dog, as a rookie, are you ever going to get in there and do it? And so, and another one was Howie Long. He had mentioned when he was a rookie, he didn't know what was going on. If he couldn't get by the offensive lineman, he said, if I couldn't run him over or go by him, then I just tried to fight him. And not that I'm recommending getting a fight in the game, but it's kind of that thing where
the penalties are against that big time.
Well, I'm not saying throwing punches and stuff, but if you aren't beating the jams or you're not getting open on the route, you're going to have to get more physical and you're going to have to get more pushy, and you might have to push off. And if you get flagged, you get flagged, but you can't just get manhandled and let the guy pick it off. Like I said, push off then and get called or start get a little more tenacious. So hopefully that's where he'll end up. After a few games here. Like I said, I'm not going to throw too much shade at Gesicki. It's his first game, but it's suddenly you got to put more pressure.
And that's the key thing. And that's the key thing right there. Don't overreact after one game. And I think that's the league where I think that's everybody because we're going to play the Jets and they're riding high. I saw the fireman doing chants. I thought he just owned the Jets, but now he's all back on doing that ragged ass chant and everything. And so let's not overreact. That ragged ass. I thought, what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to do the ragged ass chant, but you done gave up and quit the Jets, but all of a sudden they got a new quarterback, and then they win, and now you back into doing that ragged ass chant. I mean, get out of here with that mess, man. I mean, that's so damn corny, man. That's corny as hell.
Randy, did you? Sorry to cut you off. Randy, did you watch the entire game? Because everybody's talking about how awesome Sam Darnold was last night, but I saw that he only contributed like 14 of those 48 points. So I'm thinking, why is everybody touting him as an MVP guy? Did he do that great?
I watched the whole game until they went to the Oakland game. He was pretty good, and what I mean by pretty good was that you saw the command. You saw when you saw him. He looked like he was the leader of that team in the huddle, the way he moved in and out the pocket. Now, and I thought he didn't have a spectacular game, but he had a good game. He had a winning performance that if they didn't have that punt return or if they didn't have the interception, they should have won the game based on his performance. And I thought, like, once they got out of hand, you run the football. But I was sitting there looking at this young man, and I watched a couple of the Jets preseason games, and you can just see he has this command. He's a very humble kid. He's not really one of those guys that gets, frustrated if something goes wrong, or if it goes great, he doesn't get too high. And that's what impressed me the most about that young man.
Okay, well, actually, now that you mentioned that, you keep saying things that make me want to go into other discussions, but it's all relevant. Okay, so you brought up his humility and that you liked it, but some people suggest that if you have that type of personality, then you can't have that and the dog in you. So what exactly is that quantified as?
See, I don't believe that, and this is what I'm saying. Okay, you see the humility, you see all that. You don't got to be a loud boisterous, because I've been knowing Frank Gore a long time. We trained together in Miami at Pete Bommarito's spot. All right. Frank got that dog in him. Frank don't yell. Frank barely celebrates. Frank does anything. But he's got that quiet. He's very humble. He's got that dog in him. I saw one game. I saw Darnold play a whole bunch of games in college. All right. And the one thing that you always saw, no matter what he did, mistake or good, he always had that same demeanor. That doesn't mean he don't got the dog in him, but that don't mean he no talk either. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got competitive juices flowing. You see that. And that's what I said. I don't want to jump all over Mike Gesicki yet. You know what I'm saying? Because you have not seen him being he's going to be thrust right now. I mean, they're counting on him. And you go against a team like Tennessee, and they got these good, Ratco didn't even play. And Ratco is a dog. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you're going up to New York. Now, say, for instance, Leonard Williams comes out on a stunt, what you going to do? Are you going to put your face in there, or are you going to let him run you over and make the play? That's what I'm wanting to see from this kid.
All right, I got you. Okay, so, Chad, what else? I know that I keep cutting you off. I know you had one more thing, at least.
No, it's all right. This wasn't a Dolphins question, but since I had Randy on the air, I just had to ask, is this the year Georgia can overtake Alabama?
Oh, boy.
Hey, you better – oh, hell. Hey, the thing about it is, it's like living here, as long as I lived here and everything. And, Kirby's my former teammate, so I love him, and I, go get to see him all the time. And I'm still one of those humbled dog fans. I'm like, I'm one of those guys who, hey, it's a building block. Let's go. Now you got some Georgia fans like my neighbor. They're arrogant as hell and walking around with the chest stuck out. I'm like, hey, calm down. But we are a good-ass team, man. We are really, really good. We're really, really young, but we're so good. And I think this will be the worst team that Georgia has in the next 6 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how good I think these guys are.
They
are good. They are good. They really are.
I'm rooting for him. Obviously, being a Dolphins fan, I don't really care for Nick Saban after his tenure here.
Hey! He gave us Kenyon Drake and Minka Fitzpatrick. We got to say at least a little thank you.
Saban? No, he didn't. He was gone.
Yes, he did. He gave us
you
Kenyon
mean
Drake and Minka. What are you talking about?
Those guys are good wherever they're at. They just got recruited by Alabama. That's all.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Look, I get the whole being jaded towards Saban thing. I do. I get it, but I'm not going to take away from his coaching. He maximizes those players he gets. Okay, we can at least admit that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a solid coach with developing. I think he's better at developing players than in the pros. It's a different type of player in the pros versus college.
Yeah. Well, the next time I'm on with y'all, we'll break all that down.
That's fine. All right. Last question is a fun one. This is just from my memory, and I don't. I'm sure this will be in your mind, Randy. But there was a game that you got to dance with the cheerleaders, and I don't recall if that was Wanstead or who the coach was. But I was just curious if you got in trouble for that, or what the coach said to you.
Well, it was. We were playing the Chargers. And so we were going in to score. And that was by far Ray Lucas's best game. His best game. Because y'all all know when Ray came in for Jay, it was a disaster. And so it was his best game. And I was just like, you know what? And I just saw them right there. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and dance. And so once it happened, and I get back in the huddle, and so I think we scored that next play. And I come to the sideline, and my tight end coach, Pat, looks at me and said, what the bleep were you doing? I was like, Coach, I was having fun. And he just looked at me and smiled and laughed and walked off. And that was pretty much it. But it was a cool moment. And I saw that it's a GIF or whatever y'all young folks call it, GIF or whatever the hell that word is.
It's famous.
Yeah.
But no, that's all. I was just having fun, man. But like I said, once Pat Jones came and said, "What the F were you doing?" I told him. He laughed it off because we were getting our butt kicked. We lost like 4 games in a row before that, I think. And then just to get the win, he was just like, you know what? Go ahead, man. If you got to do that for us to win, hey, keep doing it.
Hey, hopefully that keeps circulating around. You might get a shot on Dances with the Stars or something like that if you keep that.
Hey, why not? I mean, JT got.
Why not?
Yeah, that's all I have for questions, Louis.
Oh, man. You know what, Randy? I really wish that we could have seen you play with the QBs that we have in like today's day and age. Like, I wish that we could have had you playing with Tannehill in your prime, just because I think that would have made such a massive difference.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't even worry about that. I mean, I live with no regrets in life, and I live with the fact that I got more quarterbacks than most people. But hey, it is what it is. I had a great career. I love my Dolphins. I'm actually going to come down to some games this year.
Oh, really?
My boys. Yeah, I promised my boys that I was going to come down this year for some games. I haven't told them which ones I'm going to come to yet, but I promised them that I was going to come down to some games this year. I told Matt that I was going to pick up my my aqua jacket and come out there and wave and do all that stuff. So I'll make sure I get there this year.
Sounds good.
Hey, Randy, did Nat talk to you into doing some community stuff?
Yeah, of course he does, man.
Yeah.
That's all about community, man. That's all about community. I'm just, like I told myself, I'm trying to convince my wife, let's move back to Miami. But she's converted all the way to the Georgia girl now, so.
Okay. Well, if you just keep pushing enough, like you say, the beach and the fact that like all these wonderful things about Miami, just keep pushing. Eventually, he'll get there.
I'm pushing, man. But hey, I appreciate y'all fellas as always having me on. Anytime y'all need me, brother, I'm there for you, man.
Hey, it's always a fun time to have you on, Randy. Thanks so much for joining us. All
right, buddy. Y'all take care.
All righty. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Randy McMichael. Always a fun time to have him on the show. And what did you think, Chad? I know that Randy said what he said about Gesicki, but he really rebuffed when I said that was a bad throw on Tannehill's part, which it was. I think everybody knows it was, but he did not give any mercy to Gesicki at all.
No, and I think that's justified. And again, you can't focus too much on one play or one game, but that could have been the difference in the game. And in a lot of games in the NFL, the teams are so close. That's a play that, as I was mentioning, you can't give up the interception on that play. I mean, that is the number one thing Gesicki's here for, is because he's a matchup nightmare in the red zone, because he's both quick and can really jump. And so that's the matchup. Even if it is Malcolm Butler, it probably is the best corner on the Titans. But even though that's who your matchup is, you have got to be able to win that matchup one-on-one. You're bigger, you're taller, you can jump higher. And he did. I think he was shocked at getting jammed, and he was off balance that whole route and never got into position. And it really didn't challenge Butler at all and gave up an easy interception. Now, you would like to see Tannehill put that a little bit higher and over Butler so that it either is caught by Gesicki or goes out of bounds. But it's the NFL, and it's the first game, and Tannehill hasn't played since 2016, so not every pass is going to be perfect, and you need to fight for your quarterback in that position. So it is a frustrating play. I'm sure he's more frustrated than anybody else out there, and I think this is just that situation where Miami's done a really good job of blending veterans and young players together, which I think is very important in the NFL. And with Marquise Gray going down, A.J. Derby has not played that many snaps in the NFL. And so we have a very inexperienced tight end core, and that's going to be something that the team's going to have to address now with Marquise Gray gone. They signed in Gavin Escobar back, who would have been a veteran tight end, but they didn't even bother to keep him more than a few days before they brought Swanson back, the backup center, which tells me that this team is expecting to rely heavily on Gesicki and A.J. Derby more than likely. Maybe Durham Smythe a little bit, but I think it's going to be a lot of A.J. Derby and and Mike Gesicki. And so, that's, as somebody that's watching the game, he can't lose the one-on-one matchups that badly. He doesn't have to score a touchdown every time that pass goes up, but you can't give up interceptions like that either for your team or your quarterback. So I'm hoping that it's a learning experience for him, and he'll just naturally pick up the speed, get a little more physical, and just let his natural talent, help him succeed.
Hopefully that's the case. All right. So, hey, is there anything you specifically want to talk about? Because if not, we have a lot of stuff to talk about here in the chat, because I have a whole bunch of stuff that we're waiting to get talked about just before Randy came on.
I think the number one thing right now I just wanted to just touch on in passing was this team is still very healthy. And so that's, I don't know if that's a tribute to the trainers or the players or it's just pure luck, but we are going into a Jets game with no substantial injuries, I think, that are going to affect this game. The only one being Devontae Parker. And I hate to say this, but I don't know that we're better off playing Jakeem Grant more than Devontae Parker, because I think Jakeem Grant was scaring the Titans quite a bit because he's so fast. And, you have fast guys on your team. Don't get me wrong. Kenny Stills is very fast. Albert Wilson is very fast. But Jakeem Grant, when you watch him play, he's just faster than everybody, noticeably. And I like him on the field because are you going to put a guy one-on-one on Jakeem Grant in space? And are you going to put him tight? Are you going to back him off? And if you are, he's a very difficult matchup for teams because he's faster than everybody. So I kind of like that in there. Whereas I think teams are going to be a little more inclined to try to cover Devontae Parker one-on-one with a bigger player, a safety or a bigger corner. And he hasn't been showing, like in camp with Xavier Howard, he hasn't been dominating ever. Devontae Parker wasn't when he was healthy. And so
I had completely forgotten Devontae Parker was even on the team, Chad.
Well, that's the thing. And so our receivers are all so fast, and not that Devontae Parker isn't fast, but and I've always been an advocate, let him get healthy. He just has never been able to stay healthy long. But watching Jakeem Grant mixed in there with Kenny Stills and Albert Wilson, I really like the matchups that creates for Adam Gase to work with, especially if you're going to use this quick passes. It's like short pass, and then go for a big strike. Jakeem Grant is very, very good in space. If you can get him the ball, you don't need to give him much room, and he can make moves and plays. As long as he survives, he's not very big. But I love the matchups that we can get right now with our personnel, and we're all healthy. We have been healthy for the most part all of training camp, and so I'm really hoping this carries forward now, that this team's going to really start to improve their executing, and this offense, that's the key to the season. If we can start executing and getting points on the board, I think the defense will take care of itself.
Well, hopefully that's the case, man, because you're absolutely right on the health thing. I don't think the Jaguars would have gotten nearly as far as they did if they hadn't been as healthy as they were. Yes, they had some injuries, but that defense pretty much had most of their core players intact as the year went on. So that helped. That went a long way for them. And now with I was very upset about Leonard Fournette getting hurt because he was in my fantasy league, and he was my starting running back, and he fell apart halfway through the game. So I'm not very happy about that. But
I'd like to feel sorry for you, Lewis, but
yeah,
I have Le'Veon Bell, and so Le'Veon Bell's out partying in Miami rather than playing. So
yeah, and putting up little look what happened emojis on Twitter because they tied with Cleveland. I'm like. But that was the best start that Cleveland has had in a very, very long time. They didn't lose. So that's improvement. That's improvement.
Yeah, that's true.
And I watched some of that game while the delays were going on.
One other point I'll make, Liz, before I take questions is I saw some of the plays. Albert Wilson, it wasn't feeding him the ball because the ball was spread around more as you would want. But the play that Kenny Stills had on the short area out where he scored the first touchdown, and a few of Albert Wilson had a key third down conversion where he caught the ball short of the sticks and was able to break a tackle and then got tackled forward for a first down. And I almost tweeted this out and self-control got the better of me. I just wanted to treat Jarvis I think our receiving core hasn't really stepped back at all without Jarvis Landry.
Oh no, believe me, man. I tweeted pretty much the same thing. It's like, I don't miss Jarvis. Who else misses Jarvis? And they're like, nope. Wilson, like, what is it? Hashtag Wilson Gang. That should be the new hashtag because Again, we've been talking a big game about how Wilson can do everything Jarvis can do and then some. And guess what? We saw it. We saw it happen. He literally did everything that Jarvis did against the Titans. He did it all. He dodged. He made players miss. He got extra yards after a short play. That one third down conversion he made for that needed 6 yards, he caught it like 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. He had to dodge a player, turn around, break a tackle, dive forward, and then he actually managed to get that first down. And then for that one big play that he had, he managed to make a guy miss, and then Then he went all the way down the sideline after that one miss. And, of course, he played running back. That was another thing that Jarvis was doing last year. He did everything Jarvis did, and then some.
He's just faster, right?
And that helps, don't you think?
Yeah. I had to throw out there because, it was one of those off seasons. And another thing is, what's Mike Pouncey's team record right now?
Did the Chargers? I don't even remember.
The Chargers are now 0-1. So I know he's finally playing with a good quarterback.
Did Pouncey
apparently that didn't.
Did Pouncey do anything? Like, was he?
I haven't watched any film about how Pouncey did. He was outspoken about finally being with a good quarterback, which I thought was kind of low, throwing shade back. And I just thought, well, I guess we're 1-0 with our quarterback, and he's 0-1 with his quarterback. But anyway.
Jarvis Landry is 0-1.
It's my opinion, we're better. And earlier in his career, Mike Pouncey was a very, very good center. Don't get me wrong, but after his hip injury, I think we're better off with Kilgore right now. I think we've got our run blocking is the best it's been in quite a while with this unit right now, and I think that is in part because Mike Pouncey is not there, and we don't have to deal with a health injury with his hip and trying to rest his hip, and that's been going on for years, and so it's just good to not worry about the health condition of our center and just go play football.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into this chat room. Radiohead 68. No one has talked about offense going 2 for 10 on third downs. Okay, no, that's definitely still a big issue, and I would have to. I need to go back and watch the film to see exactly how long those third downs were. But yes, third downs are still a big issue for Miami.
No, that's a very valid point. And one thing to be fair on these assessments is this was not a great game for Ryan Tannehill. I wouldn't say it was a bad game. It wasn't
bad, no, but
he made some big plays, but he. That interception he threw to Jakeem Grant was underthrown and got picked off. And then
no, Chad. No, listen. Look, I think the Gesicki interception was way worse than that because I watched
both of them were, Lewis. Those were bad throws.
Were bad? No, I don't think so because it was a bad result, but I don't think it was a bad throw because there was actually a GIF on Twitter. It was basically a film breakdown of that play. What happened was it looks like this was seriously a miscommunication, not so much a bad throw, because what it looked like was happening, Tannehill locked and loaded his throw as Grant was running down the field, and then right as soon as Tannehill threw the ball, Grant suddenly cut inside. So he was suddenly running a slant route because he saw open field in front of him, and Tannehill had already thrown the ball. So that I don't think it was so much a bad throw as it was just those two were not on the same page.
Well, in any event, those throws are interceptions, and
right.
I just wanted to point out this game wasn't Ryan Tannehill coming back and being exceptional. Like I said, he had big plays and he had mistakes, which you would expect. He didn't play a lot in the preseason, and he hasn't played for football in quite a while. So I thought he played well considering how long he's been off, but. That's contributing to that stat that the guy in the chat room mentioned that they're 2 of 10 on third downs, and that's not good enough. And you can't overlook that the kick return, was 7 points in this game, and we had 3 turnovers. And so, if a team doesn't turn the ball over and we don't run the kickback, is Ryan Tannehill in this offense going to still be able to put 21, 28 points on the board? And that's going to be a big thing against the Jets.
Well, remember that one deep pass is still supposed to be the kill shot anyway, because we can play the game the same way the Titans way, because they got a kick return touchdown right back.
That and again, though, I know, Lewis, I'm just pointing out our points that we put on the board weren't all our offense, just driving down the field doing well. We did have, a 98-yard drive, which is epic. That's not easy to do, and that was a big game changer. We a few times were pinned deep in our own territory, and our offense did get us either out of being pinned back, or they actually went down and scored on the one. So I thought they did pretty well overall. But again, we weren't playing full health defense, and we weren't playing a real fast defense. And so the Jets will be a much bigger challenge for our offense in that game. And again, one final thing, Lewis. Again, we're getting false start penalties from Laremy Tunsil. We're getting holding calls from Juwan James, and our tacklers have got to stop the penalties. Any team, you just cannot keep giving them 1st and 15, 2nd and 20s, and every single game, our offensive tackles are giving us penalties right now, and they've got to clean it up.
No, that I will definitely agree on. Without question, that needs to be cleaned up and it needs to be fixed. It wasn't as bad as it has been, but it's still something to think about. Let's see what else we got here. How hard do you think the Jets game is going to be? This is from Ed Richardson.
How hard do I think it's going to be? Is that you're asking?
The Jets game, yeah.
I think it's an even line. I can't remember where the line's in Vegas. So I don't pay too close to that, but I think
I saw somebody tweet it out. I think it was I don't know how the betting lines work. It was a 3. I don't know if it was +3 or -3. Which one does the +3 mean? That it's the disadvantage for Miami?
Oh, I think Miami's got the advantage. Maybe I don't know. I'll have to look, Lewis.
I don't know how the betting lines work, but I know it was a 3.
It's going to be a much more difficult game on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, they're a better defense, and they're going to be very well coached by Todd Bowles. So defensively, this is going to be one of the harder teams we're playing. And I know maybe people are thinking, oh, it's just the Jets, but they are a very good defense. And so don't overlook that for this offense. They're going to be harder to run against. They're going to be harder to throw against. Offensively, I think they're overhyped right now. I think Sam Darnold is a rookie. And again, you can say his performance was good. It was, but he did not play that many minutes of that game in a situation where he couldn't afford to make a mistake or he had to produce. And so I want to see Sam Darnold against the Dolphins. If we have him down 7 or down 10 going into the fourth quarter and he has Cameron Wake and Robert Quinn, if he's coming through that way, then I'll have a lot more appreciation for him being really, amazing rookie. And anybody that's saying Sam Darnold looks like a future Hall of Famer, they're nuts. You don't call anybody a future Hall of Famer in one game. I saw a future Hall of Famer play on Sunday, and his name was Aaron Rodgers. That's future Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean it's blasphemous to say this in Dolphins world, but that's the greatest of all time type of thing, even over Marino. It seems like even most of Dolphins Twitter is starting to go with it's Aaron Rodgers. Sorry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not sold. It's easy to look good for a few games in the NFL as a quarterback, but then teams start watching your film and they start looking at which throws are you good at, which coverages do you have more trouble reading, and it's going to be like how complete is your game, how complete are you at reading different coverage looks, and what are you weak at and what are you good at. And so, being a good quarterback is something you've got to prove over the course of a few seasons. You can't prove it in a game or two. And, Jimmy Garoppolo, everybody was talking at the end of the year about him being the next legendary quarterback, and he didn't look like he was a dominant quarterback to me on Sunday. So, not that he's a bad quarterback, but I'm just saying, like, where we want to win this Jets game is making them throw that football. We have a decisive advantage against the New York Jets having to throw the football on our defense. But we're going to have our offense beat their defense, and I think they have the advantage when it comes to our offense against their defense right now.
All right, that's fair enough. I think there was somebody in the chat who was actually talking about how that would work. It is just Jim 1960. I also don't think the Jets will be able to match our offensive speed. We'll run and short pass their D and then hit them with deep passes after the safeties start crowding the box. I mean, that sounds like a good strategy. It just comes down to execution. That's all.
Well, I like our line, but the Jets have some, that you aren't going to run easily on the Jets defensive line. I can tell you that right now. They're pretty talented, and they'll be ready to stop the run. So what we're going to need is some big plays out of our speed guys. Like maybe if Kenny Stills can break a touchdown over the top again, that would be a big play. Or the player, I think, if you're asking me, the key to the offense against the Jets is going to be Kenyon Drake. He is very dangerous out of the backfield, more dangerous than any back we've had in a long time in terms of receiving. And I kind of watching what the Dolphins are doing. It didn't click on me because he stopped at practice. This is a team there where we're trying to mimic a little bit the greatest show on turf the Rams had back in the day when they had Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk. And what you can do in that type of offense where you have those really fast wide receivers is these teams can't afford to use corners or even safeties very easily to cover Kenyon Drake, because you've got Kenny Stills on the field, you've got Albert Wilson on the field, Jakeem Grant, and they are so fast that you got to be very careful on defense matching linebackers or safeties that are strong safeties that aren't real fast, because you will get beat over the top by those guys that are so fast, or you'll get a move put on you and they'll be by you. And so that means the teams like the Jets, they're going to have to match up safeties and linebackers on Kenyon Drake. And Kenyon Drake can be very, very effective in that role. And what I'm looking for in this game is to get Kenyon Drake a ball in space, make him beat a linebacker and take it to the house because he's that fast. That can change the complexion of this game is Kenyon Drake.
I agree with that assessment completely. And one more from Just Jim. Their lack of pass rush was due to playing a contained scheme against Mariota. Also, Titans QBs got rid of the ball very quickly. So we're back to the Titans, and that's why the pass rush was missing. Okay, this is something that I actually talked about, funnily enough, with Omar Kelly. And it was actually him who pointed out the fact that the Titans were using chop blocks to begin with. The pass rush is going to be negated somewhat. I was freaked out about it the day of, but again, upon further reflection and upon looking at everything that was said and why it isn't working, it makes sense to me. The pass rush was suffering because they were giving more extra protection via tight ends. They were chop blocking the ends and the tackles. And of course, Mariota being a running quarterback, you can't just go all out chasing him down because he'll easily just run through the pocket and take off running for 10, 15 yards. So that is, it makes sense to me that's why the pass rush might have struggled somewhat, but we will see if that is the case when we go against the Jets, because as far as I know, Darnold is not known as a running quarterback. He's certainly no Lamar Jackson in that regard. He's definitely no Marcus Mariota. He's definitely no, let's think of Russell Wilson. I don't even think he's Tannehill in that regard. And Tannehill did try to run a couple of times just to remind everybody that, hey, I can do it too. He didn't get very far, but he tried. So I think that alone, it kind of gives you the impression that Tannehill's mental capacities are back to full. He took a shot. He's willing to run and take shots and open himself up to taking hits. So I don't think I definitely think he's past worrying about his knee at this point. So that's a good thing as well.
No, that's whoever made that comment's right though. When you're playing against Marcus Mariota, they do a read option and they do run their quarterback. And I'm not a huge fan of that in the NFL, and that's exactly why Marcus Mariota is hurt right now, is because I know they're complaining that he got hit when he didn't have the ball, but they're running a play that has him faking that he does have the ball. That's not a drop back in the pocket, run a draw and get hit.
Yeah, that's a clean hit.
Pretending you have the ball. And that's my outlook. In the NFL, RG3 was the same thing. When you have great athletes at quarterback and you want to design your offense to threaten them running the football, they're going to take shots and they're going to get hurt. And are you prepared to play football with a hurt quarterback? Because if you're going to run him a lot, you got to be prepared for him to get hurt. And so that's where the Titans are at. But yeah, if you're playing defensive end and the quarterback runs a fair amount, you do have to contain first and rush second. And I think Miami was doing a little bit of that, where you're making sure the quarterback doesn't escape the pocket more than necessary than you are trying to go, edging in, which they will be able to do. You're right. And the Jets offensive line is not a real high level offensive line. I think our ends can really take advantage of their tackles, but you only can do that easily if you know they have to throw the football. If the Jets can run their normal offense, they'll pound the football, have help in probably from tight ends, and try to utilize the help from the tight ends blocking our DNs and try to utilize those tight ends as well on our linebackers. That's what the Jets want to do. They don't want to go 4 wide and have their tackles have to block our ends one-on-one. We will win most of those matchups in that case against the Jets.
Yeah, well, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been going for about our usual time, but I want to say one thing before we finish this up. the Miami Dolphins are going to be going to MetLife Stadium to go against the Jets on the road. But just for the sake of saying it, I want to give a quick shout out to the guys over at Dolphins NYC, who actually was the website who hung out in the press box with me on that Sunday against the Titans, and they do an incredible job, and their contributions cannot be understated. MetLife Takeover, that's their baby that they've been handling for the past many years, and they have sold out all of their tickets for the sections at MetLife. So the MetLife Takeover is almost ready to get going, and they are ready to go and let everybody know that the Dolphins are here to play, and they're not going away. You don't get to have, if you're going to have home field advantage, they're going to do their darndest to make sure that you're not aware of it. They're going to make you think you're in Hard Rock Stadium that day. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Igor and those guys over at Dolphins NYC, Alex Kramer's. They do so much work, and I feel like the Dolphins are going to feel their presence in that game, and that's going to go a long way, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy for honestly whichever fan you are. This is a fun game because the teams are 1-0, and it's a meaningful game, and it's been a long time I can remember since the Dolphins Jets game meant anything other than just rivalry. So there's a lot on the line for the game. It's an AFCS game. The winner will be 2-0, and should be a sellout, and it should be a very very intense game.
All right, so let's go ahead and call it here. Any final thoughts before we go? Hello.
What was that, Lewis? I didn't catch that.
I said any final thoughts before we go.
Oh, final thoughts. I probably won't be popular, but I favor the Jets a little bit in this contest right now, just because.
Chad, no.
Hey, I'm a homer. I usually pick the Dolphins here. I still felt like our offense was a little bit sloppy, and we got a little off a little easy because we played a hurt team and a team that wasn't real good. So I feel like our offense is going to struggle more in this game, and that's going to allow the Jets to keep their offense conservative and maybe get some matchups that they prefer on our linebackers versus having to pay our ends and our defensive backs. And so I feel like the home field advantage might sway to the Jets' way a little bit on this one, and I feel like we're going to lose a close one. That's my prediction on this game, Lewis.
I asked for final thoughts, not a heartbreaking prediction. My brother, what have you done?
Well, it's regular season. You got to give your prediction, man.
Okay. I do want to be able to see if we can squeeze in another show before the game. I know that I have a Jets guy. I want my Jets guy in here, Matt Barbados. Okay. It's been a long time. We haven't had a lot.
It has been a while since he's been on the show. So.
We gotta get our guests in here, man. We gotta get them in here. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to him before the games on Sunday. But if we don't, I guess you can go ahead and give our predictions. You know, and who knows? Maybe I'll change my prediction. I do predict the Dolphins will win, just because I don't even know if it's necessarily just because of a homer. I just feel like that the way that the Dolphins played the Titans and before the delays happened, I feel like they were getting in a rhythm, and that's the rhythm that I was hoping we would get to see unimpeded by weather conditions. So I'm going to say the Dolphins do win. It's going to be like super close. I'm going to say that they reached the point threshold that people talk about, 24 points, and the Jets are going to be right on their heels at 21 points. So that's
I will say that, Lewis, if the Dolphins score 24 points, they'll win this game. I'll give you that one.
All right, so there you go. 24 points is the goal. Let's go and get those 24 points and come out 2-0 on the road. So that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. I will let everybody know if we are going to do another show before the week is over, but just in case we don't. Thank you all. Chad, I want you to know that Mr. 305.4Real channel at the chat says he can't believe what he just heard.
That might be the first time I'm doing podcasts I picked the Dolphins to not win, but
I think this is the first time that you've actually made an enemy on the show. It's like I'm usually the one who gets people mad.
No, don't get me wrong. I want them to win. I just feel that Todd Bowles' defense is a lot. People they're going to see that this year. The Jets have a very good defense, so our offense is going to have to really do. Our offense did not play well enough in the Titans game to beat the Jets right now. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time on PhinManiacs Live. Good night.